Is it possible to write a polished novel in 90? According to Sarah Domet's 90 Days to Your Novel, the answer is yes. And this is slightly different from the other books in this playlist because it doesn't constrain you to a single month. It gives you a full 3 months to go from blank page to revised manuscript. I'm Zara Hoffman, the founder of Imitable Books, and today I'm going to be breaking down why this structured 3-month approach might be the best one yet. Here's the thing about fast drafting methods in general. They're exciting, they're motivating, and they can absolutely work, but they often leave you with a mess at the end that you have to fix. In our last video, I talked about why book in a month is less messy than No Plot, No Problem, which was the first video in this playlist, but you're still not revising according to those books. They say that you do that later, and they don't give a ton of advice on how to do that without losing your mind. They're all about the energy that you've spent writing your manuscript, and then you save the revision work for once you've recovered. And that's still important. But 90 Days to Your Novel comes in to tell you that the marathon of being an author and writing novels is not just the drafting stage, and it also says that there should absolutely be a planning phase. Like book in a month, like I do, it takes the energy and structure of the month-long writing challenges that I've been discussing, but extends it into 3 months. And it actually does include a 30-day writing marathon. But if you are effective at using this method, you might actually be able to give yourself more writing time if you start getting really good at planning and revising. Sarah Domet's structure for this book and for the recommendation works really well with our 12-week cycle video on this channel. And I'll leave that linked for you up in the corner. But what makes this approach special is that each month has a specific purpose. And you're not having to figure out what that purpose is because she already prescribes it for you. Our cartographer, Grayson Wild, who has done multiple maps for Inimitable Books titles, mentioned AutoCrit's Novel 90 challenge on a previous live stream of ours. I don't know if they credit this book for the structure, but it basically follows the same one that's laid out here, so let me summarize it for you. Month 1 is all about planning. Schmidt gives you a week in this book, a week to plan your novel. However, this book gives you a whole month. Like I have mentioned many times before, I strongly believe in outlining, and I mentioned that in previous videos, and I have a whole video dedicated to it on this channel, so I will leave that link for you. But if you're not naturally a planner, I want you to stay with me and with this book because there is more to it. Month 2 is basically the 30-day drafting period that we have been exploring throughout this playlist with different books. And then month 3 is about revision, which is where I believe this book really shines. Diving deeper, we can talk about month 1 being the planning phase. And it's not just about you should be outlining. Unlike Save the Cat Writes a Novel, it gives you multiple outlining options. There's the Structure Plus version, which is much closer to what I do, where I break down each chapter into key scenes. The level of detail is completely up to you. She also recommends you don't just outline your plot points, but also your character arcs, like Schmidt does in Book in a Month, and need to make sure that your key scenes are really planned out. An outline isn't written in stone. It's a living and breathing document, which is something I've talked about extensively with my co-host and co-creator of the Writers Podcast, and I will leave that link down below. Domet talks about this thing called the signpost outline, which some people call tentpole outlining, and it is basically the big moments, the major turning points, etc., and then you write your way in between them. You're probably pantsing this, or maybe you are a headlights writer where you outline a little bit as you go so that you are not running out of track to follow, but you don't have the entire journey planned out in advance. What I appreciate about her giving you options is that she's telling you that there isn't a single way to outline. And she's also not forcing you to be super detailed if that doesn't work for you. But she is still saying that outlining is important because it will prevent you from getting stuck anywhere in the story during the drafting phase. Just like Book in a Month, there are daily assignments in this book, but only for the first 21 days. And every day during the planning phase, tells you what you should be working on, your outline, so that you understand your story. But the rest of the 90-day schedule actually shifts to weekly assignments. And I believe this is really smart because planning requires intense focus, but once you are drafting, some things might take longer and some things might take shorter, and you need that flexibility. The weekly structure gives you breathing room to work at the pace your manuscript needs, even though you are still within a 30-day window. There isn't a fun monthly calendar within this book, but you get examples of each step in each chapter, and it provides advice and questions you should be answering as you go through the process. This book is really big on theme, which is something I believe is talked about very surface level in the other books I've discussed in this playlist. But like Schmidt emphasizing character development, you also want to make sure your book has a theme and that you're not shoehorning it in later or having to revise your entire book because you never thought of it in the first place. It also discusses point of view, which I really appreciate because that is also a pain in the butt to rewrite your manuscript for, and I have seen that both as myself being an author and also as the editor at Inimitable Books when an author turns in a book and then decides they want to change the point of view. It happens, it's normally for the best, but if you think about it in advance, you can save yourself having to rewrite. And learning how to revise your manuscript for things like consistency and theme and character development are all things that I teach in my Query Ready course, which not only covers the revision that I just mentioned or the query letter, which is assumed from the title, but it also talks about how to properly categorize your book in genre, subgenre, and age category, how to find a good title, how to write a stellar synopsis, and it also comes with weekly Q&A where you can ask me questions every week that may or may not be related to the course itself. I am someone who has been in the publishing industry for almost a decade, and I have a lot of experience not just as a publisher, but also as a former literary agent assistant and a former literary agent intern, plus a book marketing intern on. The link to join that will be down below. If Book in a Month wasn't structured enough for you, but you found the worksheets helpful, I believe this is the next step. Something that has always bothered me about fast drafting methods is that I'm going to be left with a manuscript that I have to revise, but not a lot of advice on how to do that. And Sarah Domet walks you through how to actually make your manuscript shine. This means you're not just writing fast and hoping for the best if you're following the advice in this book. You're writing fast with a plan, but then you're systematically improving it. And by the end of the 90 days, you don't just have a first draft, you have a revised manuscript. And it's not necessarily one that you're going to submit to agents and editors, but you are much closer to that stage. And then this book actually talks a little bit about the role of agents and editors, which I think is super cool. This 3-month structure works because it's sustainable, it's comprehensive, and it gives you a clear roadmap without telling you what to do every single second of your time. I believe that the best thing for you to do is read No Plot, No Problem by Chris Beatty because it taught a lot of the momentum you need, but then read Book in a Month so you can have a little more structure, maybe an education on scenes and character arcs if that's something that you know you need to get better at. But then definitely read this book because it covers the revision and it builds on the other things that I have mentioned. If you've read any or all of these books, please let me know in the comments of what you liked or disliked from each one. And have you created a Frankenstein method like I have from writing advice books? And if so, what writing advice books do you swear by, even if you don't take every single bit of advice from it? Speaking of a book that I don't take every single bit of advice from, I'm going to be talking about Chris Fox's 5,000 words per hour in the next video. It is a book that took AuthorTube by storm a few years ago. And if you want to learn how to be super productive in turning out the words so that your 30-day sprint of writing isn't a slow slog every single day to hit that word count, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss that video when it comes out. In the meantime, please explore our playlist about how to build healthy and sustainable writing routines. And we also have a Writing Career Foundations playlist on this channel. which is a good foundation / teaser to our Query Ready course where I go in deeper on many of the same topics. If you think this video will be helpful to anyone else that you know, please be sure to share it with them. And also, lastly, let me know if you're participating in Nano 2.0. I'd be curious to hear that answer. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.